So, Farron, when we broke, we were talking about the Trump gambit at this point, and we're going to probably circle back around to this in the last hour when we start talking a little bit about the campaign and what's happening with the economy and what that could mean for Trump's reelection times. But we're talking about obviously and this is, Stephen Miller has been pursuing this since day one of this administration, which is to continually squeeze not just the requirements to seek asylum in this country, which they have done, not just squeeze the amount of people who are coming in via asylum laws, not just squeeze people out who we hear under a long-term temporary assistance program because the TSP, because they had a civil war in their country, they had some type of massive natural disaster. A lot of those people have been deported. He also has been wanting to attack legal immigration, and they are there. They are there now. We have legal immigrants who are in this country. They're on, temporary visas. They're on extended visas. They want permanent residency. They want citizenship. And now this new interpretation of an existing statute that's been around for, 160 some odd years. And we should say it's also reflective of some harsh realities about America, right? But this new interpretation of this statute is meant to separate families, is meant to deny legal residents full immigration rights in this country. And the question we landed on at the end is this going to help? And I think you're right. I mean, I think that it's quite possible. I mean, we're certainly seeing the polling that is rejecting this type of assault on immigrants. But, there's a book out there called Identity Crisis, which talks about how the existence of Barack Obama, a black president, began to polarize a huge swaths of the voting population along the questions of race. And with the election of Donald Trump, a similar thing happened on the left and center left, and that is that people's opinions about immigration became polarized along these same lines. So where Barack Obama could get away with not nearly as harsh and vindictive and cruel, frankly, policies regarding immigration, still to some extent were harsh and cruel at the very least, and were in some instances record-breaking when we're talking about deportation. And so the odd thing is that a lot of those people now see immigration in a vastly different light. And your point, I think, is well taken. I don't think that this is going to be necessarily successful. They're clearly not running a strategy to win the whole electorate. They're trying to, they're getting very narrowly tailored. But I think largely a lot of people reject this type of harsh anti-immigration policies.
Well, we've seen reports over the last year and a half or so, a lot of anecdotal evidence, a small business owner here, a small one there, but they all kind of say the same thing. And they say, listen, this administration is cracking down not just on illegal immigration, on the temporary work visas. Yeah. And my lawn business depends on this. My restaurant on the beach, it depends on this. And when they see this crackdown, and many of these people say, well, I had voted for Trump, but now I can't get my workers, I'm closing my doors. And they also at the same time see, well, wait a minute, Mar-a-Lago just got 72 temporary visas and hired, I think last season was one or two Americans, and then the rest were all the temporary visas. No, the con is being exposed and has been exposed. And I don't know that this is going to have the same effect in 2020 as it did in 2016, especially when you consider the fact that at the time, and again, things are getting worse for people, and they're probably going to get much worse in the near future, but they know now who is to blame.
Right.
Trump can't go there and hoodwink them and say, listen, you lost your job because this man came across the border and took it, and I'm going to give you your job back. Now it's going to be, we lost our jobs because you've gone into some kind of weird trade war that you don't know what you're doing. And you did that on your own, Mr. President. You can't blame that on the guy from across the border. You can't say it's because an immigrant came over here and had to get on food stamps. That's not true. We know this because we lived it firsthand. So he's going to have a lot harder time selling that to the public this time around. Some will buy it, obviously. They always do.
Right.
But not enough this time, I don't think.
And I think that's a good point. And we also have to imagine, right, that there was a certain percentage of people who either underestimated the harshness and the cruelty involved in his plans in regards to immigrants and immigration, regardless of whether it's undocumented or with documents. But there also have to be a certain percentage of those people who said, like, Paul Ryan will take it. We'll temper him, or Mitch McConnell will temper him. And I think we've seen that that's actually not the case. But there's a lot of people out there who I think may have come to that conclusion. Now we're gonna wait and see. I am always cautiously optimistic, and in the meantime, we're creating all sorts of just completely unnecessary and unjustifiable suffering on the part of people, and creating anxiety, and it is really a continues, I guess, a rolling sad week for the country. But Farron, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be if you'll join me in the next hour, that would be great. Meantime, we'll be right back with more Ring of Fire Radio.